Why don't you give me the argumentation?
Okay, so let's just go down the route of. So I think you said something along the lines of the patriarchy is essentially to enslave women. That's what you were saying, isn't it?
Yeah, just to control and dominate women.
Okay. So what's the what is that? Are you for matriarchy? Are you?
No, I'm a feminist, so I'm for the abolition of a gender hierarchy.
Okay. So have you ever known? So have you got any sort of factual, basis that you can bring me of any society that's been outside of a patriarchy or a matriarchy that's worked and we can talk about?
So, yeah, if you want to talk about like historical societies prior to what we would call like the civilization era, we can certainly do that. But that's not really you coming in with a counter or disagreeing with the statements that I made. That's you pivoting to another subject. So,
Well,
why
I'm
don't
not
you
gonna. I'm not
tell
gonna.
me
I'm
what
not
you
gonna be
disagreed
like.
with
I
and
don't. I
give
don't
me
like
the
your
counter to my
I don't like your.
argumentation?
I don't like the way you try and get people into like specific corners that you can win. So I think you should be a bit more like fair play, and be open to debate.
And based off of what you said. You said that you disagreed with things that I said. I
I
made the
disagree with
premise that
everything you
toxic
said.
things are toxic, and great. So, what do you disagree with?
Just your whole mannerism, honestly.
Sean, can we be fair though? Because what you just said was because Kenzie's coming in with intellectual conversation and that you can't track, you want Kenzie to dumb down that conversation so you can participate. And that's not fair.
I didn't say I couldn't track it, Coco. I
That's
said you wanted
exactly
to.
what you said.
No, I didn't.
That's
I don't think
exactly
what
what
he's
you said.
that is what
That's
he's
why you can't come up with a counter.
I don't think that's what he's trying to say, but he did come in here saying that he disagrees with everything. Then you need to explain why you disagree and give us a basis of that. Otherwise, if you want to talk about a different subject or about societal differences, you should have come in here saying that instead of being like, hey, I disagree with everything. Because you got to back that up.
Okay, so essentially, Kenzie, you were bringing, you focused in on Johnny talking about the physiological side of an alpha male, right? So you were saying like, oh, outside of the physiological side, what else is an alpha male? How does it make you? Like, essentially, you were just trying to like,
Not what I said.
bring down the patriarchy, right? That's what I'm
Isn't that what
understanding.
I-
Is that right?
No, that's not what I said. I asked him if men who are at the top of the current society are the strongest. And he said no. So I asked him why he's touting male strength if that's not how men are successful today. And he didn't answer me.
Okay, yeah. So like, if anyone would think that and alpha males essentially are just the top of the food chain, right? Like that's what they are in all different sociological constructs like chimps and wolves, where it comes from. Essentially, you don't get there by being strong because there would be all these dumb strong guys that are at the top, which doesn't make sense, right? You're an alpha male if you're like, for example, if you're intellectual. So like Steve Jobs, like to an extent, was an alpha male because he was like an alpha in his own sphere of influence. Like if you're talking about physiological, it's a load of rubbish.
So why is Steve Jobs at the top?
Well, Steve Jobs is dead, but
Yeah, and
essentially,
so
what
Jeff Bezos.
it was his like
So
Why are
um,
men at the top?
because we deserve to be there.
That's not an answer. Like saying you deserve to be there is just a claim that you're making. I'm asking you why it's reality.
Well, it's just like okay, so throughout history, going from caveman days up until Western society, right? There has been a need for men to be their role, women to do their role, to succeed as a unit. That's always been the way.
That's incorrect.
Tell me how.
So if we look at like the origin of our species from like Homo erectus to like the dawn of Homo sapiens, we really didn't see like pairing monogamous marriage until the invention of private property. Prior to that, it essentially was group marriage. And because maternity was so easily established, women held like the superior role when it came to child rearing because you knew who the mother was. And men played essentially a subservient role within that manner. So no, I would say that like the earliest traditions, women were very revered and honored. It would be more matriarchal than patriarchal.
Okay, so I'm just looking up Homo erectus. Are we talking about the extinct species that was 2 million years ago? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, Homo erectus goes back to 4 million years ago, and I said to the essentially the dawn of Homo sapien,
You
and
said
even
Homo
like early
erectus.
civil,
You said Homo erectus.
and I
There's
said
no
to the
proof.
dawn of
There's
Homo
no
sapien.
there's no proof that they are our ancestors.
Yeah, there is.
Like,
Are we gonna like disagree on evolution now?
Yeah, cool. I don't believe in it.
Well, then I
Like
think you've
base
like conceded the
premises,
entire argument then.
your base premises don't always mean just because you've got a theory to back it up, it doesn't mean they're fact.
So theory very much is rooted in fact.
I don't disagree with that, but it does
Right.
not make
So
it a fact.
when it comes to, do you believe in gravity, Sean?
I see the effects of it. Yeah, of course.
So there is more evidence supporting evolution than there is gravity. That's how strong the evidence for evolution is.
That's a load of rubbish. Like, what are you on about?
It's not. It's not.
I believe in microevolution, absolutely, because there's been enough time. Like, there's no proof. If you look at, like, you know, actual studies that go outside of the scientific, the accepted scientific, what's in universities, what's in colleges, you'll actually find there's a lot of different proof that contradicts your, like, you know, your whole outlook.
There is not. Even if we look at like essentially our genes, one second, even essentially if we look at our genes, there's specific chromosomes where we can see fusing happened from previous ancestors. If evolution weren't true, we wouldn't see that fusing. Like, do you think that, one second, do you think that animals went through an evolutionary process?
I said I believe in microevolution, not the Big Bang evolution where we started from an amoeba and now we're here through millions upon millions of mutations, which is impossible.
It's not impossible. But we can see like just because our previous ancestors are extinct doesn't disprove that evolution existed. We can see, one second, I'm almost done. We can see that your precious alpha wolves are like, that's where domesticated dogs came from. They evolved from wolves.
Yes, microevolution, of course, right? So going back to your point, right, the whole premise of it is false because we don't automatically come from Homo erectus. So use a better point.
No.
You
just saying not you just saying not is not an argument. Even if I were to go to like in the upper barbarianism era, essentially, which was 200, one second, boo-boo, it's okay, which was 200,000 years ago, still we saw group marriages. Like I said, we did not see monogamous pairing marriages until like the Mesopotamia, Rome, Greek age, where private property was invented, so that men essentially could establish a paternal line to pass down material possessions.
Okay.
So no, this whole idea that our origin is from like a patriarchal society is incorrect.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So in those sort of societies, you seem to know a lot. Would it be that there would be multiple women for one man, or would it be multiple men for one woman? Like, just out of interest.
Yeah, so monogamy was typically prescribed to women.
Oh, so it's pretty similar to now then.
No, I would say like men have been like considered more monogamous, and I would argue too that men are actually taking more.
Men have never been always considered more monogamous. Everyone knows that, like
they're more monogamous now than they were historically.
Yes,
is the statement that I was making. Just like men invest more in child rearing more now than they ever have previously. Okay. Oh my God! Thank you.
So what's your point with that? Are you saying that they weren't alpha males back then, or are you just saying that like?
Yeah, my point is that through our evolution, no, we were not patriarchal. So, and many men make this argumentation that essentially patriarchy is like a natural occurrence, which is inherently false. And even if it were true, it's just not a good argumentation. Just because something comes from nature doesn't mean that we ought to maintain it or follow it.
So, okay, no, fair enough, right? Fair enough. So following down your line, right, what is it you want for society?
I've already answered that question.
What, that you want women to be completely free, that they can do whatever they want, and men to be subservient?
Well, no. I said essentially like I'm a feminist. I'm for the abolition of like a gender hierarchy. But yeah, I think people ultimately should be free from exploitation, discrimination, and oppression. Okay.
So, like, you would agree that the world is, like, dangerous, right? So, like, are you saying that, like, because I heard earlier in the chat and earlier in the conversation...
You know, I don't know why you continue to ask me questions when you said you disagree with statements that I made. I made a statement that we live in a patriarchy and that alpha males want to maintain that patriarchy, which is toxic. What is your counter? What do you disagree with?
I disagree that alpha males want to maintain a patriarchy. It's not like anyone wants to do something. It will just happen naturally. Like, it's not like people sit there and they're like, oh, yes, I want to keep women in their place. Oh, yes, please, yes, that's what I want. Of course not. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so let me ask you, why are men, when we look at, like, let's just say the economy or politically, why are men at the top?
Well, they're not now, not all the time. It's rare. It's like it's only in the top sort of like companies. They still like mostly men. Like it's not the case anymore.
It is the case.
In what sphere we're talking about?
In most spheres, like if we actually look at like the C-suite and CEOs, I think women just passed men named David as CEOs. So yeah, men make over 90% of CEOs.
Okay, yeah, no.
If we look at like,
women use all the time, right? So let's look at bricklayers. Bricklayers. Okay, who predominantly?
wait. So I just want we'll go into that, sure. But I just want you to answer my question. Why are men at the top?
Like because generally, right, over the last like 100 or so years, the structure was men would go out to work. Generally, I'm not saying specifically to every person. Men would go out to work. Women would stay home and be head of the home. That's what it's been like because mostly in the West, it was a Judeo-Christian heritage countries. USA. America,
So that's
USA,
not correct
England,
as well. We really didn't see the division of gendered labor until the industrial age. So that's relatively new.
What? What are you on about?
We did not see the division of gendered labor when it comes to men working in the private sector or the public sector and women working at home. We didn't see that until the Industrial Revolution. Prior to that, men and women worked outside equally. There was no gender division of labor.
Like what studies are you talking about? Like what factual basis are you backing up? Like that just doesn't make sense according to the history.
It makes perfect sense. Like if we look in like the early 1800s, a majority of like factory and textile workers were migrant women. Like there was no huge public sector for men to work in. It was essentially small units.
And what country are you talking about?
The revolution, I think.
The United States.
The United States. That's a
Correct.
new country. If we're talking about an older country, let's talk about the UK, where most people from the US came from. Let's talk about UK.
Okay, so when did men and women start just predominantly being in the household and men being in the public sector?
The public sector, like I'm talking about mainly working, and I'm talking pre-industrial revolution, obviously.
Yeah, that's so obvious.
Well, yeah, of course, because you look at the industrial revolution, it made things a lot easier. Work wasn't so hard.
We're changed at that point. We're changed.
No. Work was a lot easier. It was less with your hands and more with machines. What are you talking about?
Right. In some industries that is too, but there still did require labor. So again, I feel like so are you saying the patriarchy is why men are on top?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not some like natural biological thing. It's just because men have constructed a society that benefits them.
Men have constructed a society that benefits you.
I just want to make sure that you and I understand the same premise. Men are on top because they've constructed a society that benefits them to put them on top. Is that correct?
You've just defeated your own argument because yes.
No, I agree. I agree that the patriarchy is why men are on top. Men are not on top because they're actually superior.
I haven't said they're superior in any way. I've never said that.
Yeah, you have. You said that they should be on top. You've made the claim that, yeah, they deserve to be on top.
What are we talking about in a work situation when men have been working for a lot longer than women outside of the house?
That's incorrect too. That's also sexist. Women have always worked. Our work has just been unpaid, invisible, and minimized.
It's never been minimized. The women in
You
the
just
home,
did it, my
the
guy.
most important job of all. It's just been minimized by.
You
women
just
like
said
you.
women didn't
The
work,
women- it's been
and now you're
minimized by
saying
women
women
like
have the most important job of all. Like, come on, that's a
Honestly,
contradiction.
people like you are the reason why it's getting minimized. People like you. You're destroying it. You're destroying it for future generations.
You don't need to gaslight me and try and like think you're doing something here. It doesn't do anything for me. I'm not interested in your little quips or what you think are snide remarks. Give me the damn argument. That's all I want.
What the heck are you on about?
I know it's difficult for you to track. So let's just make sure you and I are both on the same page. You're saying that men are not on top. Men are only on top because of the social construction of the patriarchy, not because of any biological superiority. Correct?
I didn't say that. I said
Then
that.
please tell me where I was wrong.
Okay, so if we like, you used the C-suite as the only example. Are we on the same page? Yeah. You haven't used any other example yet. You've only used the C-suite right now.
No, I said economically and politically.
Economically and politically. Okay. So there's a lot of like different scenarios to unpack there. Let's just use one to make it make sense, shall we? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, let's use the C-suite, right? So if we're talking
Okay.
from let's say the 1400s, so the last like 600 years, right? For the 400 years prior to last 200 years, men mostly worked, women were at home with the kids, very important job. So men constructed.
That's incorrect.
There we go. You butt in and you try and it's not incorrect, it's a fact.
I just said that's incorrect. Go ahead though.
Before the Industrial Revolution, men did most of the work. They made up most of the workforce.
No, that's incorrect. Again, that's like a very like white man take.
Give me. I can. All right. Let's just look it up on Google. Like you.
I have given it to you. I gave you examples too of like where textile factory workers were women. If we look at small farms, it makes no sense that women would just be in the house and men would be out in the field all day. If we look at indigenous civilizations, men and women hunted and gathered equally. If we look at other civilizations, women participated in the army and were warriors. Like, no, this is just a misrepresentation of history.
Okay, so if you're trying to say that in tribes, men and women hunt equally, I think the only basis we can use is tribes that are still going. Would you agree?
No.
Well, aren't they the ones that survived? So then they're the ones that are like actual still tribes. So that's still working.
You're gonna have a hard time backing that premise because then I could just say the same thing. Like, would you say that any civilization that has failed, obviously, like the root of that civilization was just then wrong?
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Great. So would you say Rome was patriarchal?
I would say Rome was very wrong. Yeah.
And was Rome patriarchal?
It's irrelevant. I would say Rome was wrong.
Right. So if Rome was patriarchal and Rome was wrong and Rome fell, then therefore patriarchy is wrong, right?
Like Rome was a pagan society. That's why it fell.
No, Rome was patriarchal. It wasn't pagan. What are you talking about?
They had multiple gods like Dionysus and all of that. So yes, it was pagan.
That's not pagan. Having multiple deities is not pagan.
Yes, it is. It's theistic, not monotheistic.
What about the Roman Catholic Church?
Well, that's like, what do you mean? They're not Rome.
They're not Rome. The Roman Catholic Church is not Rome.
No.
Okay. No, Rome was very much patriarchal. Women were excluded from the Senate. They were excluded from politics. If you look at Roman armies, they were very much men. So yeah, I could just make the claim that Rome was patriarchal. Rome fell, therefore, patriarchy.
Well, like, that's not the point. Like, as I'm saying, it's irrelevant where it's a patriarchal society or matriarchal part of society. I haven't said that like makes a.
You said if no, because I made sure to walk you through this premise. You said if a society has failed, then the structure of the society obviously was wrong. The structure of Rome was patriarchal. Rome fell. This is why this is a bad argument, because most civilizations, in fact, most species die.
Yes. What's your point?
My point is your argumentation was bad.
Like, okay, so most species die, so we should just try and destroy ours quicker, should we? By not reproducing and, making fertility rates go down, all of this stuff, because, like, essentially women want to be above men, not have families, all of this stuff.
No, that's not what I said, but man, keep coping. You said that essentially if a civilization doesn't exist, then therefore the structure of their civilization was wrong, and that's why they don't exist anymore. I put your own premise, your own logical deductions into another scenario to show that patriarchy therefore meets that criteria, and you're not conceding that. Number one, I think your logical premises and conclusions are bad. That's why it doesn't work. That's what I'm saying.
For me, I'm not really fussed whether I'm in a patriarchy or a matriarchy. Honestly, it doesn't bother me, right? You've said that alpha males are toxic because they want to propagate the patriarchy,
Well,
right?
amongst others, like literally, we just had an alpha male in here saying that women cannot think logically, only emotionally. Only men have the capability of thinking logically. Isn't that quite a toxic trait toxic statement to say?
Maria, like, no offense, but Johnny was not a alpha male.
And we will probably tell you that you're not an alpha male, so it's kind
I
of an
haven't
empty
said
argument.
I haven't said I haven't said I am.
Then what am I?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, like this concept doesn't exist. The study that it came from was from captive wolves, not wild wolves.
I thought it was
Why
from chimps.
have a gendered hierarchy
I thought it was from chimps, not wolves. It was 2 studies, wasn't it?
from wolves, and it has been since now debunked because they were held in captivity. They were not born into their natural environment of a pact. So yes, they essentially established a pecking order because they were strangers to each other.
And Sean, as a biologist, I can agree with that. What Kenzie just said, that is correct.
Like, you agree with that? Well done. Like, what gives you factual basis? Tell me the study so I can look it up, so I can be proved wrong for good. Please tell me.
The study itself explains it, but please don't just read the abstract. Read through the entire thing with logic and sense, please.
Well, tell me the study then. What's the study? Because you've obviously read it. You must know if you're making these statements.
Yeah, I think if you Google alpha wolf study, I'm pretty sure you can find it on Google just fine.
Yeah, so I just Googled alpha males and wolves in captivity. And you can see it in Scientific American. You can see it in phys.org. All of these should link you to the actual study.
All right, I'll have a look at that. I'll have a look at that. So basically, you're trying to say that essentially the pecking order of societal structures, it doesn't exist? Or are you just saying that women should be at the top? Like, what are you trying to say?
Oh my God, I don't know how many times I have to answer this question. Do you want to grab a pen, Sean, so that you can write it down? So my current premise is that in the status quo, we live in a patriarchy, which is about male domination and superiority and female submission and inferiority. Alpha males is a construct to maintain that status quo. I am for abolishing a gender hierarchy.
Okay, and let's say I agree with you, right? What is your vision for the future?
We take down capitalism.
Okay, great. So we take down capitalism. Are you a socialist?
I'm a communist, hence the name comrade.
So you're a communist.
So wait. I just want to highlight, you came in and said you disagree with me and you disagree with everything I said. And now you've just said, I agree. Which is it?
I was saying, say I agree with you. You don't listen very well, do you?
Wait, so if you disagree with me, again, what do you disagree with? What is the argumentation?
I was following along with your logic and I was seeing where it ends, and frankly, it ends with communism. You want to be Chinese. Well done.
Right, you're not ready to have the communism discussion, which is why I won't dominate you on that one either. So again, you have. Oh no, boy, you've got no. Let's just make that clear.
On your name, it doesn't mean you've dominated me with a fake picture. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, I very much have. So again, what do you disagree with, and what is the counter? Do we live in a patriarchy? Because you seem to agree with that.
Not anymore, no.
And also, can we please keep it respectful to the argument and not the person having the argument? Okay, Sean, there's no need for...
We definitely don't live in a patriarchy now, no. Women have more rights than men. Women have more
Oh, really?
Men.
Okay. What rights do women have? What?
Tell me one situation that women don't have more rights than men.
Are we talking globally?
Yeah, why not? Oh, right. Well, let's talk about if we're talking in the West. If we're talking East, then completely different because it's still like, some sense of like rationality.
Okay. So if we're going to talk about the global West, number one, women are still fighting for reproductive rights. Number two, women are fighting to be free from gender-based violence. Number three, women are fighting for the dissolution, or essentially for the disproportionate outcomes related to capitalism.
So what do you mean by reproductive rights, sorry?
Rights to abortion.
So you think that because this is a right only for women, right? So like men, should we have the right that if a woman has a baby that, like, say a man doesn't want, they don't have to pay anything?
So here, I'm going to answer the question, and then I'm going to tell you why that's disanalogous. If the woman has the child, do both of them have equal financial liability?
I don't get the question from me asking my question. Why are you doing that?
To show you that your wallet is not comparable to my body. That's why it's disanalogous. Because if the baby is born, both parents have equal financial liability. You, however, without the capacity for pregnancy, obviously don't have the investment.
you said that the first right that women don't have, and this is more than what men have supposedly, right? Your first point was reproductive rights, okay?
Correct.
So you're saying that women should have the right to kill a baby, okay? When I'm saying, right, if women have the right to do something like that, men should have the right to say, no, I don't want anything to do with it because I don't want it.
So, number one, abortion is about terminating pregnancy. So yes, there are no laws controlling men's. One second. No, that's the actual medical definition. That's the actual medical definition. Right. Everything you have said is opinion. Let's remember, my guy. You don't believe in evolution. Number one, there are no laws regulating a man's reproductive rights, but there are laws regulating women's. So that is a disproportionate outcome. If we're going to talk about child support, as well as like the investment in the child, I don't think anyone should be forced to be a parent if they don't want to be, which is why like systems like socialism and communism would actually get rid of child support. And if that's how you're going to talk about men being oppressed, like, it's laughable.
I wasn't talking about men being oppressed. You were saying that women don't have the same rights as men.
Well, trans men do have the capacity for pregnancy, so I don't think necessarily like men would benefit from abortion if they need one. But if we're recognizing biological differences, one second, boo boo. I'm almost done. I swear. One second. So again, like I don't say that men's prostate reproductive health care is in any way discriminating towards women's health care. If you don't have a uterus, then no, you don't need health care for a uterus.
The whole question was, what rights do women not have that men have?
I told you, access to reproductive health care.
Reproductive rights, okay? Men have the same rights as women, that we choose who we sleep with. We have the same rights.
No, when it comes to accessing healthcare.
Hold on, you just
No. You baby boy, you don't get to interrupt and talk over me. And then when I do the same to you, you complain about me not letting you finish. No, you didn't. You continued to talk. I'm not passive aggressive. I'm not passive aggressive. I just don't react to you with anger and scream at you, which bothers a lot of men. I won't say that you're unique.
Well, I haven't screamed at you once, have I? So what are you talking about?
Oh, then you're passive aggressive by just trying to overtalk me. That's very feminine of you.
And let me just point out, right, you did attack the profile picture in the very beginning, and you did that way before she did anything.
It wasn't
So you get angry for getting the same treatment as you gave her originally
Maria, she was bullying Johnny. It wasn't for anything, not for nothing.
by asking him a question that's considered bullying.
No. Like, so there was 3 people ganging up on one person. That's
Oh no, Gas is also there. He agrees with him. He just didn't speak.
Gas didn't say a word.
Yeah, but he still agrees. It's not my fault that he decided not to say anything.
It doesn't matter if it's your fault. You're the host, and
Not attacking anyone. We're just questioning your beliefs, and you can defend your beliefs.
I'm not being
But
bullied.
please do that properly.
By little guys like you. I'm saying that this Johnny was being bullied. You were like intellectually ganging up on him.
Have you considered, right, that I'm not going to treat somebody with grace if they're going to tell me and assume that based on my gender, I can't think logically, but only emotionally? Why would I treat him with the respect that he does not deserve?
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't agree with that statement. But it was, Maria, I wouldn't say you were part of the bullying, frankly. I would say it was, what's her name?
The exact same argument
Jessica,
goes for Kenzie and Coco. Why should they treat him? Yeah, but the exact same argument goes for Coco and Kenzie too. Because he didn't just talk about me, he spoke about all women. So why should we as women give him the grace when he literally sat there and shat all over us?
Like, there's so many things that you guys have said against men. Like, that's a fair point that he's just saying something like, I don't agree with it, because women can be logical, men can be emotional.
Yeah, so he said something that was incorrect. But you're deflecting. Like, engage with the argument. You weren't up here to be like a martyr for Johnny. Let's not pretend. Because if you were, you wouldn't be personally insulting me. You would actually be following your own principles and premises.
Well, I've heard
So,
you multiple
that's the
lives, to
argument.
be honest, just like. Anyway, I'm done with
sorry.
this. Stuff to do on a Sunday. I'm done.
Yeah, go ahead and...
Okay, have a nice day, Sean. I hope he genuinely thinks about what has been said here.
Welcome in, Nado.
Hello, hello.
What is your stance? Are you an alpha male?